No, there's no mummy's ears, just this chicken. Well, this chicken anyway. Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about the two-parter, The Empty Child and The Doctor Dances, written by Stephen Moffat in his first canonical written debut. He had previously written the spoof Curse of Fatal Death, and is directed by James Hawes. Now, it's important as well to note that these two creators of this story had won awards due to this story. It was, when it came out, it was extremely, unfathomably popular. It's one of those stories that I remember back in the playground of 2005. Every single person was talking about this one story and how creepy it is, how eerie it felt, how much it just gets under your skin. And a part of that is, of course, the advent of the gas masks zombies and the World War II setting. So, it's not, I mean, this was an incredibly popular story. However, the story, despite still, I must admit, it holds up incredibly well. But it still has elements of Stephen Moffat writing quirks, which would become repetitive and sort of cliche when he took over as showrunner. So a lot of those seeds of things yet to come were implanted in this story. This story also introduces the companion Captain Jack Harkness, played by none other than the fantastic John Barrowman, who before this he was pretty big on Broadway. He had a fantastic singing voice. That guy can sing, but this was the first thing that put him in the mainstream, and he became hugely popular. But he was actually the first character. Captain Jack Harkness was the first character to get a successful spin-off TV series in the vein of Torchwood, because it was Torchwood. And yeah, this is just, what I have to say that that everyone else hasn't said before. It's, everybody loves it, everybody remembers it. I remember kids coming into the play garden and going, "Are you my mummy? Mummy." In fact, speaking of memories, one of my earliest memories is after watching The Empty Child and having some sort of, I can't remember if it was a nightmare or it was just, I was awake at the time and my mind was just playing tricks on me, I was waking up to the sounds of a child saying, "Mommy, are you my mummy?" And then I went down to near the stairs when I was a kid, and I could see a silhouette of something, to which I thought was a gas mask zombie. Turned out to be none other than my cat at the time. Poor Amy. But that's just one of the things that just sticks out in my memory. I'm so glad that this was an episode in a time which I watched it whilst it first aired. Season 1 is just so good at bringing back memories for me. But anyway, here's the official DVD cover. This is actually the last story that's on the vanilla release of this. This story came with The Long Game and Father's Day. Two stories I've obviously tackled before. But this is the two-part, and this is, so when I pick up this DVD, that's the one I think about. And it's because of that, I printed off the classic DVD cover. So let's put these together and we'll have a look at it. Ready? 1, 2, 3! There you go. So this is what it looks like on my shelf. This is actually done by Christopher Doctor Who DVD Covers, a fantastic website that recreates classic DVDs like this for new series stories. This one is the one for The Empty Child. That child is just... Has anybody else, apart from me, have traumatic memories of this little bastard? Look really great. I really like the dynamic of the artwork there. Here's the spine, if anyone is interested, with Christopher Eccleston there. Sorry if he's so blurry. And you've got the back, with also includes The Long Game and Father's Days, which I mentioned before. So there you go, that's the DVD, that's the behind the scenes, that's all the stuff that we need to get onto. So now, on to the adventure at hand. So the story starts off pretty strong. Our pre-credit sequence, the cold opener, has the Doctor and Rose in the TARDIS chasing a cylinder thing in space that has been jumping time tracks and is actually heading to London. It's a very short, I think it's the shortest cold opener that we've had so far in the revived series, but it does a great job at setting up the tone, the atmosphere. Now Stephen Moffat, despite him being mostly known in the Russell T Davies era as a very serious writer who writes a lot of horror style Doctor Who stories, but with his history of comedy, with he did a lot of like sitcoms, Press Gang, and also he did, of course, The Curse of Fatal Death. He has a lot of great humour in this story. I especially love the line in which the Doctor explains that mode is the universal colour for danger, and when Rose says, what about red? The Doctor's like, oh, that's only Earth people. To everyone else, red is camp. All those misunderstanding, all that dancing. Love that. That is just a fantastic line. And it fits like the situation well. So they land in London in 1941, the height of the Blitz, on a night of bombings by the German bombing campaign. And originally the Doctor comes out of the TARDIS, it's like, right, I'm just going to ask people, not realising that he's in World War II, basically just like, I'll just ask around, see if anybody has picked up his ship or that it's exploded nearby. Now, as much as a lot of people love this story, and I'm one of those people, I really like the story, one of the elements of this story which does not work is the advent of Rose Tyler. Rose in this story is such a brat. The first thing she does is like ask doctors like, what are we going to do, like scan for alien tech and stuff. And when the Doctor is like, of course not, she gets really up in his face about it and wants the Doctor to do some really highly technical stuff to basically, she wants him to show off in front of her. She feels like that she deserves more of like the techno, the gizmos, the gadgetry. She feels like she deserves more. This is a likeable character. Sure, Father's Day did a great job at writing for Rose. Paul Cornell in that story just made Rose such a likeable character in that adventure. Here, it's clear that Stephen Moffat struggled with Rose, as when Doctor goes into like a secret club to try and ask people in this really, it's a very short scene, but the production, the directing is so stunning, and it really puts you in that atmosphere, in that world. It's just so great. As the Doctor's like, first of all, he's just listening to this woman sing before when she finishes her performance, he starts clapping and gets on stage. He asks whether, has anybody seen something falling from the sky, to which there's just a massive silence. There's really awkward silence until people start laughing, thinking he's a comedian, until the sirens go off and it clicks. We're in World War II. Damn, things fall off the sky on a regular basis. This task that he set up for himself is going to be a lot more difficult than originally thought. Rose, on the other hand, before even heading into the club, and without getting the Doctor's attention, notices a little boy on top of a rooftop who's crying out for his mummy, wearing a gas mask. And Rose, not knowing anything about, the situation, believes that it's just a scared child. So she tries to climb up and tries to get the child. Now, it's hard to feel sympathy for a character who gets in this very dangerous situation in which he's holding a rope, holding on for a dear life, as it turns out the rope is connected to a, what do you call it, an air balloon. It's not an air balloon. Oh, what are they called? Zeppelin. There's a giant Zeppelin which now hovers around London sky as German bomber planes are attacking everything, and she's wearing a Union Jack shirt. But it's really hard to get invested when this situation could have easily been avoided if she just looked up and saw what the rope was connected to, and then, even if that wasn't the case, the scene plays along for just enough time that we as an audience could have easily believed that she could have jumped off at any moment before it escaped through the balcony and went like right over the city. It's so bizarre because right at the start of such a popular and well-known story, we had such a idiotic moment from one of our main leads, and especially how we've just had her complaining to the doctor about why she doesn't get all the cool scan for alien tech kind of stuff. Rose just comes off as a very, very unlikable character. Though one element to this is with her interaction with another character, as when she gets saved by a particular time agent, former time agent. Enter Captain Jack Harkness, a rogue time agent who had set up this situation, and he saw Rose on the balcony and he transports her to his invisible ship, and they have a few drinks and stuff. Now, Captain Jack Harkness is a 51st century guy. In the Doctor Who canonically, that is when humans are now well versed with alien travel, and there's a lot of going along, if that makes any sense. And so Jack is one of the first non-straight characters in the series history. In fact, the character is described, I don't think it's ever described in the story, but it's always described by people behind the cast and stuff, like John Barrowman and Russell T Davies, that he's an omnisexual character, somebody who fancies pretty much everyone he sees. That is just Jack to a T. And Jack is such a lovable character here. He's such a great little detail. It's strange seeing him here to what we know as him now, because we got this image in our heads as people who've seen all the stories later on. He is this hero. He's the man on a mission. But here, he is a sleazy. He even calls himself a criminal. And he believes that Rose is a time agent like he was, and he comes up with this bargain as he flirts with her and tries to get her to think the way he wants her to think, about this very valuable ship, the ship that they were chasing, and it's going to get destroyed in 2 hours, and he's going to be like, you pay me a certain amount, and I will save it for you. Essentially, he's basically setting her up to buy this. Now, again, this is where the two characters are so different in terms of my opinions of them. Because Jack is flirting. He's just so charming and likable. He's just so because as a sort of viewing audience at this point, he's newly introduced. We don't know anything about him. He's this sleazy, sexually active, handsome diva kind of character. But Rose, on the other hand, we know her as, going back, that She has a boyfriend. In fact, this story even mentions Mickey, but she describes herself, or at least the psychic paper describes her, because it's been reading her thoughts, as very available. And despite her obviously being in a relationship with Mickey in this at this time, she flirts around with Jack. There's this really bit where she's like constantly playing up to the fact that that she kind of finds him attractive. There's a scene where you feel like, right, she's clicking. It's like, right. When Jack kisses her hand, and it's like, we're at the middle of a World War II blitz. Do you think this is a real good time to coming on to me? And Jack is like, you're right, I'm sorry. Turns away, and Rose is just like, actually, you know what? It was just a suggestion. I wasn't actually like demanding that you stop. How is Rose supposed to be a likable character again? I mean, is this the same Rose from Father's Day? It feels like a completely different character. It's really, really bizarre. But if you take Rose out of the equation, this story, every element of this story apart from Rose, really does work. As the Doctor goes back outside trying to look for Rose, and Rose is obviously not there. And he talks to this cat, and it's just like, one day I'm going to meet a companion who will do as they say. 9 million years of time and space, that's the only thing that will ever surprise me. And then he gets surprised by a ringing noise. A ringing noise from the Doctor's TARDIS. A phone call from the phone on the outside, which isn't even real. It's not connected to anything. What? The Doctor's freaked out. He doesn't understand. It's like, how the hell can you be ringing? You're not even a real phone. Until a character, Nancy, this very young girl, tells him not to answer it. Whatever you do, don't answer it. And again, this is just amazing moment of acting, directing, and performance. As when Nancy leaves, the Doctor, being curious, being this adventurer, picks up the phone. But really, he starts off really comical. He's like, okay, like really awkward. It's like, okay, picks up the phone. He's like, hello, this is the Doctor speaking. Hello? Mommy, are you my mommy? Mommy? And then it turns. Who is this? What's going on? How did you even get this number? Who is this? And the phone hangs up. As if it was like somebody was holding a child for ransom. Putting it really disturbing, really atmospheric. It really gets under your skin, because a child crying for its mommy is such an innocent, almost too innocent thing that happens in like day-to-day life, that the way it's presented to you is something slightly off. The fact that he uses the same phrases, the fact that he constantly wears this mask, the powers that we see it later on, and the fact, this phone isn't connected to anything. It's just tipping on the board of innocent, that we're always creeped out, as if it's so clearly a trap, but we can't help but feel like sorry for this child. So the Doctor goes around tracking Nancy again. Now Nancy, she has this thing going along where when the raid comes out, she looks around for a very well-stocked house, and she brings all of her orphans into the house, where they will then eat up all of the food. And Nancy is the heart of this story. She is the centerpiece. She is, if we took out the Doctor, Jack and Rose, she is the main character. And this character could have easily failed. She could have easily been this annoying little brat of a character, but the writing, the directing, the acting is so good that we feel for her. We can see that she's struggling to do her best to try and help this family of orphans that she has basically now looking after. there's a great moment where two kids come in and they want to eat up, but she tells them, no, I'm still carving the meat. You've got to sit down and wait until the others arrived. And they're all like, she getting the food and serving it out until the doctor is suddenly there. And Nancy's like, don't worry, he's not supposed to be here either. And the doctor basically asks them about this this bomb that wasn't a bomb. And Nancy clearly knows something more about it. And the story gets us interested. And suddenly, outside of the house, we hear the child calling out for its mommy once again. The doctor is, he's just kind of like a, okay, it's okay, and he doesn't see anything wrong here, but Nancy is petrified, and so the orphans, and she's like, who was the last person in? Quickly, who told me who's the last person? And when she points at the last kid, it's like, did you close the door? Did you lock the door? No, and then everybody runs out to the back way as Nancy locks the door. And the doctor is left there looking at this child locked out of this home. The doctor, it's just a small beat the moment, but it makes you really understand the doctor as a character without revealing any backstory or giving too much away about this nameless character that we've been following for more than 40 years at this point, in which he tells Nancy, it's not always easy being the only child left out in the cold. And Nancy is like, you would know something like that. And the doctor just smiles at her and is like, yes, I would. So the doctor didn't have a great childhood growing up. That's a little detail there. And Nancy explains it's just like the child isn't a child anymore. It's empty. Whatever you do, don't touch it. And she leaves him and proclaims that like this child has powers and it can communicate through radio waves. And the doctor goes in the living room and it turns the radio on. It turns this monkey machine on as it cries out for its mommy. And Nancy is just like, right, you stay here, you do what you want, but I've got to go. And so the doctor goes up to the door and he gets onto his knees like this and is like, hello, no mummy here, just us chickens. Well, this chicken. I love that little moment. And the doctor's so playful here until he basically realises the child doesn't seem to notice anything apart from the fact that it has no mother. It just constantly is crying out for its mother, and the silhouette of the door windowsill is just stunning. James Hawes is a director, and the reason why he's such a great director is his eye for lighting. This story. Watch this story again and keep in mind of the lighting. That scene where we first see the child on top of the rooftop when Rose finds it. It's such movies would die to have lighting as good as that. The story just looks absolutely phenomenal, especially in lighting. And the dark, gloomy. Like I don't think we ever get seen in the day. It's always in the night. Which means that the lighting, James Hawes' lighting, really stands out as a vocal point for the visual art style of this story. It really stands out, and it also helps with the gloomy atmosphere of both the World War II aesthetic and the concept of these undead, zombie, gas masks creatures. The doctor is then told by Nancy to go to a doctor in this particular hospital to talk about this bomb that isn't a bomb. And the doctor goes to investigate. And we probably get one of the most iconic scenes in all of the new series as the doctor meets Dr. Constantine, this lone old man who is looking after these patients, all seemingly wearing gas masks. And he tells a little bit of story about himself. It's not so well detailed, but it gets the idea done. And this character, this performance, he's the guy from One Foot in the Grave. I can't remember the actor's name, but he usually plays comedic roles. It's so weird to see him in such a serious role. Wow, what a performance. It's easily one of the most memorable performances from a character who only appears in 10 minutes of the entire run time, really. There's a great little line in which he says, before this war, I was a father and a grandfather. Now I am neither, but I am still a doctor. The doctor's reaction is like, yes, I know the feeling. And then Dr. Constantine asks him to look at the bodies, anyone, just don't touch them. Whatever you do, don't touch them. And the doctor notices a scar on her hand, one similar to the child. The mask seems to be melted onto the skin, but there's no scarring. There seems to be a lot of damage to the head, especially around the skull, the brain section. Yeah, Constantine then asks him to investigate another of the bodies where the injuries are exactly the same. Another one, exactly the same. Another one, exactly the same. How is this possible? Physical injuries as plague. And then one of the most disturbing moments. Constantine asks the doctor, what do you think is the cause of death? Fixation? No. The damage to the head? No. The massive scarring in the lungs? No. Okay, what is it? There is none. They're not dead. And he whacks a bin to make a loud noise, and all of these patients just suddenly get up like that, as if they're Nosferatu or something, or the Undertaker from WWE, and it's just so eerie. And suddenly Constantine starts coughing. He tells the doctor that Nancy actually is the sister of the first patient, that boy that was hit by this bomb, this thing that came from the sky. That's what damaged it, and that is what has happened to it. And Nancy's saying more than she's telling. You've got to find her. As he coughs up, he struggles to breathe, and he slowly mutters to himself, "Are you my mummy?" And then we get one of the most horrific CGI effects in the entire show history. One that I think might be a bit too disturbing for televised Doctor Who. The fact that this wasn't rated 12 or 15 is really shocking, as we see this guy's face just morph into a gas mask as the air vent on the mouth bit comes out of his mouth as if he's choking up on it. The eyes morph into these giant round cylinders, and it's just absolutely horrifying. It really feels like he's suffocating in this. Whilst here, Jack, who has been scanning for alien tech, has found the doctor with Rose here. Rose has pretended that they are part of the time agency that Jack is looking for, as the doctor explains that thing that Jack was trying to sell to them started all this, and Jack is like, this is not possible. And then Taylor clicks that he isn't actually a seller of anything. He was a con man. He's a con artist. The thing there was an empty junk, a ambulance vessel with nothing in it. He checked, he looked in it, there was nothing there, and so he set it out to space. He saw the time vessel, and he shot it near them, and basically plans to con them into buying some useless junk. And before they could actually look at any of the goods, the German bomb will come onto it, destroy it, and the people who were being conned will not know that they're being conned. That was just such that was Jack's plan. And and the story, at least the first half, ends on a cliffhanger where we get two cliffhangers. One with Nancy going back into the house where the child has followed her in. We get our first good look at the child who uses just pointing at the door to close it, as it seems to have some sort of psychic powers. Whilst back at the hospital, all of the gas mask zombies get up and go near the doctor, closing up to him as they start screaming, "Are you my mummy? Mommy, are you my mummy? Mommy, 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 mommy." And that's our cliffhanger. One of the most iconic cliffhangers in the show's history. And I just realised we've talked about this story for about half an hour, and I haven't even talked about the doctor's dances yet. It's just so... I'm not going to be able to talk about everything I want about the Doctor dances. Just way too much great scenes. But let's talk about the resolution of the cliffhanger, because it happens right, even before the title sequence, the pre-credit sequence is the resolution to the cliffhanger. And it's such a smart idea, as the Doctor basically pretends to be the mummy, and he's like, "Look at you, I'm very crossed. Go to your room." "I'm not joking. Go to your room!" And all the zombies then just turn around, like panting their heads as if like they're just children who are sulking as they all go back to bed. And we get a really funny line where the Doctor's like, "I'm glad that worked. That would have been terrible last words." Funny, terrifying. The story has it all. There's just so much to talk about. I don't think I'll just talk about little bits that I really liked in the Doctor dances. We get a scene in which the Doctor, Jack and Rose, they go up to the little boy's room, the room of patient zero, and at this point only really the Doctor knows, and the Doctor's asking Jack, it's like, "What can you see?" It's like, "Damage, clearly something broke out of you, something incredibly powerful." And they look inside this small little room where they see a lot of kids' drawings. It was a kid, that's why it's calling out for its mommy. There's a tape, they play the tape. As we hear Constantine asking this child, it's like, "Where are you from? Who are you? Do you understand where you are?" And this child is constantly just calling out for its mommy. There's no understanding, there's no breaking from this repetition. And the Doctor's like, "Can you feel it in the walls? It's scared, it's horrifying. There's nothing in this world that a child would do, would tear up the world for its mommy, and this kid physically can." The child's voice then continues with the sound of clicking as the Doctor goes on this massive rant, and it's like, this kid has the power of a god, and I've just sent it to its room. As Rose notices, "Doctor, what's that clicking noise?" Doctor's smile drops. It's the end of the tape. It ended 30 minutes ago, but the kid's voice can still be heard. As they turn around and the kid is there, and Jack uses his device to make a hole through the wall, and then he can repeat it so that the wall is back there, and all you could just see is the wall smashing, breaking up, as it turns out the kid has super strength as the hospital gets surrounded by gas mask zombies. And the characters are all like in closed spaces, very closeted, until the Doctor, Jack and Rose hide in a little spare room as Jack teleports away. And when we get a scene, which is probably one of the most, there's so many iconic scenes, but this is another one of them where Rose and the Doctor are talking about dancing, and how Rose just expects the Doctor to not know about dancing, and the Doctor's like, "You just expect me not to know what to dance? I've been around, of course I know how to dance." And Rose basically asks the Doctor for like dancing until he notices that there's no scarring on Rose's hand, despite being on a balloon millions of feet up in the sky on a zeppelin. There's no burns and stuff, and she explains that Jack had these particle things which fixed her hands, which he saw nanobots. And it's really cool effect. It's like particles flying around like fireflies. Really stunning effect work in this story. Now, let's talk about the dancing element in here. Actually, before I even get onto that, let's talk about another scene in which the Doctor, Jack and Rose, they need to get back into the behind the military lines where they can find the bomb. So Jack can show them that it was harmless. And Jack, being one of the military, he pretends to be a military soldier in this army base, recognizes someone, and Rose is like, right, I'll distract him. Gets ready, and Jack's like, don't worry, you're not this type. I'll go and distract him. And he kind of like runs off very handsomely. And the Doctor and Rose are talking about how in the 51st century time, humans have met like all sorts of aliens. He's just flexible in dancing in the 51st century. Now, let's talk about the dancing, because the dancing is clearly a metaphor, later confirmed by Stephen Moffat in an interview with him. When it's saying dancing, they actually mean sex. This is absolutely hilarious to me, because the second episode is called The Doctor's Dances, which, going by what it means, the innuendo of the dancing metaphor, the title then is technically The Doctor Fucks. Come on, The Doctor Fucks. How is that not the funniest title you've ever heard in your life? Hashtag make the Doctor's dances, the Doctor's fucks. Brilliant. But it gets this idea that much later down in the future, in a Star Trek-like environment where there's peace and prosperity and there's no prejudice. There's no prejudice. That sexuality is kind of not, straight people, gay people, bi people, pan people. It's not like they don't exist anymore, but nobody's worrying about them. That nobody is questioning their sexuality and stuff. It's just you see someone you like. If you both consenting adults, then dance. And it's just a small little concept, but it helps with the idea of the 51st century, and it really puts Jack in a much, because we don't see much of him as a futuristic character. It helps with him being putting this idea that he's from the future, this character who is in no way closeted. He is open as any open person can physically be. He's so proud of his sexuality. It's kind of endearing in a way. You just watch it and you're just like, brilliant. I wish I was that confident, I wish I had John Barrowman's confidence. John Barrowman really knows how to play this confident character. Again, we're going to have to skip a lot because we're running out of time here. There's a scene which is really strange. Jack mentions why he wants to con the time agency, a business of time agents which are technically like Time Lords. They protect time, only they actually go in and investigate and stuff like that. Which have actually been mentioned before in the Talons of Wing Chiang, fun fact. But there's a reason why Jack doesn't like them so much and why he left. it's because he woke up one day and found out 2 years of his memory have been wiped and he wants them back. This plot point is never mentioned again. They mention it as if like, this is something they're going to build up to, something that is going to be paid off in a later story or in the spin-off. Never mentioned again. Never brought up again. Actually, I tell a lie. It's brought up again, apparently, in a 9th Doctor comic story called Secret Agent Man. However, it's still not resolved. We still don't know why his memory was wiped. We don't know what he knew, what happened to him. It's just a small little element that's just never been described. And I absolutely love it. I love the fact that we have this mystery and, you know, it's not like Jack is like hellbent. He's not super, like really, I mean, sure he's pissed and he's annoyed at it, but it's not to the point where he would obsess about it and stuff. You know, Jack is a really freelance kind of relaxed kind of guy. He can live happily without having these 2 years of his memories being wiped. But, you know, but it's brought up, it's this mystery about his character, and it's still a mystery to his character. Even if it seems a bit unintentional, it seems like they built up a plot element which the writers and showrunners have completely forgotten about. Somebody should ask Russell T Davies and Stephen Moffat, what was the plan of the 2-year mind wipe? I would love to know, but I'm glad that like it hasn't become an issue for people. It's not like Jack is such a well-versed character that a lot of people have forgotten about this, and it hasn't hindered his character. It's not something that has stopped his character's development or anything. But yeah, and so Jack, the Doctor, Rose, and Nancy, they go to the bomb ship where it opens up and it turns out there is nothing in it. And the Doctor basically reveals that it's an alien ship. There wasn't going to be any bandages and stuff. It was the nanobots. And Jack realizes what's happening. Oh God, yes. What happened is that these are nanobites, specifically ones that have never seen a human being before. So it crash landed on Earth. A bit of it found the corpse of a dead child, brought it back to life, and healed it to the best it can. Only problem is, it has no basis, no blueprint of what a human should be. So it looks at this dead child and sees it's got a mask, it's got these scars, and it thinks that's how humans should be. And so it spread it like a virus that it tried to cure as many people as it can, only for it to be a virus. And the Doctor it's like, right, there's nothing in the world. And Nancy is like, this is my fault. And the Doctor's like, how is this your fault? As when he says that, all of the gas mask zombies start crying out, Mummy, 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 as the small child, Patient Zero, Jamie, the small Nancy's brother, comes to the forefront. As the Doctor clicks, Nancy isn't the child's sister, it's the child's mother. Although there is a bit of an issue where the Doctor states it's like he kind of clicks that he kept the secret even from the boy, so the boy shouldn't even know that it's its mother. So how does that work? Are you my sister? Sister. I guess that doesn't have much of a ring to it. I think they could have easily just cut that little bit out. And Nancy, full of regret, like it seems like there's no way of winning this. Jack teleports away because his teleport only has one way. And Jack and Rose are like, it's volcano day, save yourself. As this German air raid bomb is going to come down and kill everybody here. And Nancy holds the boy, putting herself in danger of turning into a gas mask zombie as the child cries out for its mommy until the particles start appearing. And this bit, the ending to this story, is so good. But on rewatching this, still, I teared up. I will be honest, I absolutely teared up. As the nanobites basically realise that this is the original blueprint, the mother of this child, and they're working it out. It's like, right, this is what humans should look like, this is what humans should be. And the doctor just begs, please, yes, understand, it's the mother. Come on, understand, it's the mother. And when they're all done, the doctor runs up to the child and says, give me this day, please, give me this day. Because we've seen the doctor's adventure at this point. He suffered through the Time War. He had to let Cassandra die. He had to kill the Slovene. He had to let the Dalek, probably one of the only good Daleks that he's ever encountered, kill itself because it was such in a horrible state of mind. We've seen it's just had so many Gwenethia's death in the thing. There's so many death and destruction, and the doctor just was helpless to stop. And the doctor just begs, looking at this child, it's like, please give me this one day. Takes the masks off to reveal an innocent child's face. As the doctor picks the child up, she went, yes! Come on! I need more days like this. As everything is, as the child is cured. The child is now revived. And suddenly, the doctor clicks his fingers as the particles surround him. It's like, it's time to give you an upgrade. You want moves, Rose? I'll give you moves. And he spreads the nanobots to every other victim of the virus, of the gas mask zombie plague, as he cries out, justice once. Everybody lives, Rose. Justice once. Everybody lives! And Christopher Eccleston's just so cheerful, so happy, so energetic, so... Because we as an audience viewer who's caught up, not only just in this story, I mean, if you just watch this story, and, you know, the setting of World War II and, you know, all the death and destruction of World War II, and we get the idea that there's doctors have travelled throughout a long time and stuff, but also as well, connecting it with the rest of season 1, it just puts you so invested in the doctor trying to save people, that the one time, finally, he gets to save not just one person, not just a handful of people, but everyone under his care. It is astonishing. He's so cheerful as he heads back into the TARDIS. And it's like, I need more days like this. Rose goes, look at you jumping around like your Father Christmas. The doctor replies with, who said I wasn't red bicycle when you were 12? What? So it's confirmed. The 9th Doctor, or at least a Doctor from the 9th Doctor's past, is Father Christmas. I like to think it was the War Doctor, personally. That would have been absolutely hilarious, especially with the beard and moustache. Come on, John Hurt as Father Christmas. That would have been fantastic. And so Jack takes the bomb, which was originally going to destroy the medical ship that started this whole thing, and take it out into space. But there's no way he can get off it, and so he's basically ready to die. He talks about this little moment about how he was supposed to be executed. He had he slept with his 2 executioners who became a couple afterwards. That's a really great line. And then we get this fantastic shot again. James Howell's directing, Hawes' directing is just fantastic as the camera slowly pans away from Jack in his ship. And then we see like the borders of the TARDIS doors as we then enter inside the TARDIS as Jack goes in and seeing Rose and the Doctor trying to learn each other how to dance. As Jack gets introduced into the TARDIS, making his official stance as a companion. As the Doctor and Rose have this little banter about dancing. The Doctor then says like, I can dance. And when Rose is like, I think Jack would like this dance. He would, Rose. He definitely would. But who with? And Rose, and they all start dancing and having a laugh and having a blast. And so that's the empty child and the Doctor dances. Or as I like to call it, the empty child and the Doctor fucks. This story stands up so well. It's mad to think that this season had Dalek, Father's Day, and this and also The Unquiet Dead, in the same series. Like, some series would beg to even have one story that's as good as these adventures. But to have all of these good adventures, but we're not even done with the series yet. We've still got 2 more stories. It's just mental. You could see why this story won so many awards. Stephen Moffat's writing is top notch, despite Rose being a very weakly written character, and a lot of issues with the Stephen Moffat era poke their heads up, which we'll talk about when we get into those stories. The directing by James Hawkes, and his keen eye on lighting and the lighting props. The lighting directors of the series really need a great shout out of this story, and it's memorable, it's scary, it's one of the most impactful Doctor Who stories. And if you haven't seen it already, do yourself a favour, watch it, you won't be disappointed. Also, this also introduces Jack Harkness, so where can you go wrong? So there you go, that's The Empty Child and the Dr. Fox. So join me next time, where we will get reunited with an old villain as they plan to take over Cardiff. But what they were trying to do in Cardiff, let's find out in the next story, Boomtown. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra!